when things are going well. Your character isn't built when everything that you write down on your Christmas list you receive. That's not when character is built. Character is built through adversity. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. left us with the notion that life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? So as you reach out and as we quest and try to strive to do well in life, we got to remind our kids that they have a responsibility. We have a responsibility to give them hope and give them enlightenment and show them that, hey, there are going to be some rough times. Adversity awaits you, but you will develop all you need to go to the next level. Let's look at historical accounts, for example. Historical accounts such as that of Harriet Tubman. Harriet Tubman shared with the slaves, no matter how tired you get, no matter how hungry you get, no matter how scared you get, keep moving forward. Keep going. What has happened to those messages? Booker T. Washington shared with us in the 19th century. Booker T. Washington said, political agitation alone will not free or elevate the Negro. The Negro needs to acquire property. He or she needs to take a role in industry. They need to look at skill development, create intelligence, and also build character. So I just want to share, folks, a moment of how God helped me move from failure to promise, and I hope that that's encouraging, and how he used my adversity and turned my adversity into altruism. The altruism, God has given me a burning platform at this point. All right, so several years ago, I reached a point of promise, in my opinion, in my quest. I wanted to be an engineer. It's what I desired to be. Now, mind you, I flunked out of engineering school. I'll repeat that for the young people. I flunked out of engineering school, all right? So I got all Fs. That's what happens when you flunk out, right? So I flunked out and I got invited to leave the university, all right? Don't come back here, all right? We don't even want your money, all right? It's the message that I received. So imagine flunking out of engineering school and still being crazy enough to believe at some point I could become an engineer and a university professor. But I'll tell you all what happened. I had a praying father and I had a praying mother, right? And for those that don't have that, we have a responsibility to befather those that do not have fathers. We have an obligation to bemother those that don't have mothers. But I was blessed to have a mother and father. So when I got kicked out, when I failed out of engineering school, it was the worst thing in my mother's opinion that could ever happen to me. To my dad, it was the best thing that ever happened to me. My dad said, well, I tell you what, son, life is hard. And anything worth having, you're going to have to sweat for it. You're going to have to cry. You might even have to bleed a little bit, but keep going. Put God first, keep him with you. Take breaks when you get tired, but don't break away from it. He said everything will be all right if you don't break down and act like a little sissy every time things don't go your way. Now, that's exactly what I needed to hear at that particular time. So we cannot allow our children to feel as though they are victims, even if we're feeling defeated. Now, my dad had a third-grade education, and he ran a body shop in Detroit, Michigan. And in Detroit, there were the same types of vices on the streets that are here in Chicago. But he and my mother were able to weather the storm and be successful black entrepreneurs in an urban city. So I took what they experienced and understood that my dad simply wanted me to do better than him. And that's what we have to want for our children. We have to want that hope for them. So I flunked out and I went to the community college and picked up some credit hours and transferred back in. At some point, I got into good academic standing and was able to graduate and, went forward and became an engineer. But God wasn't done then. See, I think a lot of people believe that once they get the house of their dreams and get the luxury car that they want and have a couple of cute kids and get a dog, that it's all done. But that's when God starts to use you. That's when God has to demote you again. See, he has to sometimes prune you and cut you back so that you grow, do more for him and do more for the kingdom. Because if we get way too successful before our time, we'll start to think that is us. So we'll make time for happy hour, right? We'll make time for cognac and Hennessy and buffalo wings and beer. We'll make time to sit in front of the television, look at the sad stories on the news and say, that doesn't make any sense. But God pulled that rug from me once again and said, nope, there's a higher level to go to. There's much more to do. So what God did, once I was successful, I was doing well as an engineer, and God said, it's time to resign from that. It's time to do something else. What is it that you exactly want to do? And go do that. So he called me to be a professor. God said, I taught you what it takes to live perfectly. Now I need you to go and teach the world all about me. And God gave me the profession of business to do that in. So I'm proud to say that a lot of what my parents were not able to accomplish, they were able to accomplish it through me. A lot that I won't be able to earthly accomplish, my children hopefully will be able to accomplish that. And that's what it's about as we attempt to save the children. We have a responsibility to pass that baton and not get complacent. You got your 42-inch screen television. How much television can we watch? We have to tell a vision to the children as opposed to simply being entertained and detained by the TV. So God said, all right, now you're a university professor, you got to tell the story. Because in my profession is full of people that are so-called smart. And a lot of the smart people rely on worldly wisdom. They rely on Scientology. They rely on their forecast. But me, I believe in the principle of neology. I find myself often getting down on my knees asking God for direction. I spend so much time seeking him that I don't have to prepare my lesson plans to teach. It just flows whenever I get in the classroom. Why? Because God has taught us, first, seek ye the kingdom of God and all of his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. So as we seek God, whether we have food in the refrigerator or not, whether the rent is due and there or not, continue to seek him and he will add those things unto you. So God has added, folks, God has added so much to my life that I have a burning platform. I had a burning platform to write a memoir and share it with the world. That in this field, in any field that is of virtue or value of nobility, God is the only thing that matters. Put God first. So the memoir is not simply about becoming a university professor, but it's about reaching whatever promise that you have inside of you, because God plants those seeds of promise in all of us. As parents, as role models, we have to speak to the seeds that are inside of our children. You have to speak to that. Call him a doctor. Call your son a doctor. Call your daughter an attorney. Tell them that they are a deliverer. Tell them they are great. Tell them the promises that God has for them. Tell them also what they are not. You are not a gangbanger. You are not a dope dealer. You are not a whoremonger. You are not these things that the world would like to label you as, because the devil is a lie. He is the prince of darkness. That's what he does. So, folks, God continued to lead. He continued to guide. And he brought me to the point where I was able to establish a foundation. And I'm so thankful for it. I'm able to share with young people all around the world the story of From Failure to Promise, how God took me across multiple tracks to bring me to a point of promise. And they reached back out to me. So thousands of students around the country reached back to me, and they say, well, Dr. Moore, I stumbled upon the book because I was looking for a scholarship. Or I stumbled upon it because I was looking for a grant. But what I found was what was missing in my life. I couldn't put my finger on it before, but I understand that I didn't have a relationship with Christ. I understand that my parents didn't feed me what yours fed you, and they thank me for it. But I turn around and I thank God. I tell them to thank the Father who has called me, the Father who has sent me, the Father that chose me before birth. That is our message. That has to be the message that we use to save our children, that they are a chosen people and they are part of a royal priesthood, and greater is he who is in them than he who is in the world.
What a powerful message and delivery. From failure to promise. Just what we've been saying. Don't make it sound like we got it all together. But God used him and continues to use him even through the adversity. God has made him a conqueror over that adversary. And now he is passing that message along. Thank you, Dr. Moore. To God